Welcome to Conversations and Coffee, where we have conversations that are authentic, lighthearted, and purposeful. Our conversations will be engaging. You will hear from industry experts that will have you saying, "Whoa, wow, I didn't know that." Join us, because it's all about you, your loved ones, and anyone who want to stay informed and, of course, living your best life.
Yeah.
How important is it for a person to take care of their mental health?
I mean, I'm maybe biased, but I think it's incredibly important. It's the same as taking care of your physical health because it all relates, and your physical health will plummet if you don't take care of your mental health.
Yeah.
In the same way people go to the gym, I think going to therapy can look the same, because we've seen that, people will have stomach issues, for example, and they'll go to all these doctors, their primary care, they're doing all these tests, nothing helps. And then it's like, oh, are you maybe feeling some anxiety? And they go to a therapist for a couple months, and sure enough, their stomach symptoms start to go away.
Yes.
So, I think it's incredibly, incredibly important.
Well, you know what? I will say this. When I started my journey on, seeing a therapist, and I wouldn't have never gone. It was just a taboo kind of thing. But as a person who loves research, have a doctorate degree, you know all about that. You got to do your research.
Yes.
Just what you said. If you will research and take care of other things in life, then why not take care of your mental? Because what's here is guiding you. And so you have to be able to, I guess, understand what you're going through and have somebody to allow you to say what you need to say, and then guide you into making, choices or whatever that therapy is that you're doing. So I truly, truly believe, like you, that taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health, because I think they go hand in hand.
They do. Yep. Yeah. Well, I think too of someone, a parent or a grandparent who likes taking care of others, but you can't take care of other people, at least not well, until you take care of yourself first. It's the analogy of you have to put your oxygen in the plane. You have to put your oxygen mask on first before you put on your child. And I think that's so key. Yeah.
That's a good analogy. I didn't even think about it like that, but that is so true.
Yeah.
You got to be able to know what's going on with you, your whole self first, before you start doing other things in life. That goes with your job, with your relationship. Oh yeah, that was good. I like that.
Yeah. Hey you, did you hear what we said? Seek out another therapist until you find the right one for you. Don't give up on therapy just because the first person wasn't the right fit. Remember the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Even though it was a fictional story, it gave the reader a sense of encouragement to never give up, even if you have to try again, just like Goldilocks did. Now let's get back to our conversation with Dr. Andrea.
I know sometimes that when you're first going through stress, anxiety, all of those things, your first point of contact may not be a therapist. It may be your physician. And usually when you go there, they are, will, possibly give you some medication for whatever you're going through. Is medication for stress or anxiety the last resort, or what's your feelings on that? Your opinion?
Yeah. I think it might not be the last resort, but it might be plan B. I think plan A should be try talk therapy first. Mm-hmm. We've seen so much evidence and research that shows it's really effective. And, take a couple months to do that, depending on how you're feeling. And if that doesn't work, then combine it with medication. And the two of medication and talk therapy can be extremely effective.
Okay. Because I know, and you can tell me whether or not this is true, where you are, but I know, from my own experience, that was the first place I went. I went to my physician like, hey, something's wrong. I'm not feeling good. X, Y, and Z. And the first thing is, okay, here's this medication for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not a person that takes medication. So that would be a last resort for me.
Yeah.
And then I started to do my research. I'm like, let me see if I need to go to a therapist and see how this works out. And thank goodness, like I said, it worked out fine.
Yeah.
Because, and then that was a last resort, meaning that I didn't even have to use that because I had the therapy to help me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what I'll add a little bit to that too is if someone is struggling so much that they're not really functioning, sometimes then medication might be the first step with, of course, with therapy as well. Mm-hmm. But if you're, kind of in that mid-range, I would say therapy should be first.
Okay. And once they decide I am going to seek therapy and Dr. Andrea is my therapist, how long is that progress or how long does that take? Does it take 30 days, 90 days? Do you put a date on it?
Yeah. Yeah, I usually don't put a date on it, and it depends on how severe symptoms are. What I usually say is try it for 3 months, see how you're feeling. And that means 3 months if you can, once a week. And I recognize there's financial challenges around that. There's time challenges around that. But if you can, and then see if there's any progress, talk to your therapist, talk about your goals, your treatment plan, and then kind of go from there. But I have some clients that are short term like that, 3 to 6 months, and some clients that think of it like going to the gym and they're long term, a couple years, and maybe they come every other week or exactly. They just find it to be supportive. They have a third party that's unbiased, who's a professional and can help you guide your life and keep the stress down.
Yes. So many good things you're saying today. So many things that I think, people who do have that taboo of having a therapist or going to therapy, now they can see that, it shouldn't be a taboo. You're taking care of yourself and you can be a lifer for it as well.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, I've gone to therapy for years and I've found it incredibly helpful, and through graduate school and through the passing of both parents and just general life stress of work and everything. So I swear by it.
Yes.
And my therapist is amazing. I've had a couple different ones and I'm very happy with them. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm glad you said that. So say you start with a therapist and you like, this is not working for me. I know how some people would say, oh, this is not working for me, so forget it.
Yeah.
What if you get to the point that you have a therapist that you're not really agreeing either with their methods or their personality? What would be next steps for someone?
Yeah. And fit of therapist is so important. And what the research also shows is that the relationship is the most important factor of whether somebody gets better or not. Mm-hmm. And so, give it some time, maybe talk to your therapist if it doesn't feel like it's working out. But if you've kind of just consistently feel like it's just not a good fit, then try another therapist. Don't give up on therapy just because one person didn't work out. There are a ton of therapists. Yes. So someone will work out. And so we usually do phone consultations first, which is like a 15-minute little free service, and just to chat with the therapist to see like, oh, okay, I feel comfortable with them. I feel like they'll not judge me and I can open up to them or not. And then they go to somebody else.
Yeah. That is so true.
Let's pause and reflect on the ways to take care of your mental health. Taking care of your mental health will help you live your best life. Did you know that mental health refers to your overall psychological well-being? It includes the way you feel about yourself, the quality of your relationships, and your ability to manage your feelings and deal with difficulties. So let's jump into some resources. Some resources to help you with dealing with your mental health are: make social connections, especially face-to-face connections. Stay active and talk to someone. That may include family, friends, or a therapist. Appeal to your senses. I talked about that in a solo episode about mental health and stress. Make sure you check it out. And also, take up a relaxation practice. Make leisure and contemplation a priority. Remember to eat brain-healthy foods. That will help keep your mental health strong. Don't skimp on sleep. Find purpose and meaning, and of course, seek help if needed. Now let's get back to our conversation with Dr. Andrea.
That is so true, because when I started my journey many years ago, I had to go through 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Just to get,
which is really common. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that I didn't give up, because I think if I would have given up, I wouldn't be where I am, with trying to deal with the things that was stressing me out. Mm-hmm. So it's so true that people need to move on and understand that just because it's not working with that one person does not mean that therapy is over or therapy is not for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we've had a general conversation about therapy, choosing therapists, stress, anxiety. Now I want to have a conversation about seniors, seniors that are 55 plus. And the reason I bring them up is because I am into making sure that seniors are living their best life through the business that I own. I own an in-home care business, and we focus on the elderly. Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed is that seniors, it seems as if they have a lot of stressors as well. Mm-hmm. And even though that they are 55 plus, sometimes people forget that, they may need the same thing that everyone else may be going through as well. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I want to cover, or even if this is a word, but most times when seniors are getting ready to be stressed about something, someone's calling this, they're going through a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Is that a word people should be using, or expand on what do you feel a midlife crisis is?
Yeah, usually a midlife crisis, and it can happen kind of anytime, I think. Anytime, really, depending on when you consider that midlife. But it's usually when you start reevaluating what's the meaning of life, what are your values, what's important to you. It's sort of like existential of what is the point of all of this? And you're kind of reevaluating your life. And do I have regrets? Do I not? All of that stuff.
Oh, you know what? Now that you say that, you said anybody could have a midlife crisis. That's true. Yeah. Because you don't have to be 55 plus or 50, because I know I'm almost about to be that 50 mark.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be that to know that you're asking questions and regrets and what's the purpose of this or what's the purpose of that.
Yeah.
You explain that well. Can you explain it one more time so I can make sure that I have it, that our eavesdroppers understand what is a midlife crisis?
Yeah. Yeah. So anytime you're trying to figure out what are my values, what is sort of the point of me being here? What is the meaning of relationships, of life? What's my purpose? Anytime, do I have regrets? What do I wish I had done? Where do I go from here? What does it all mean?
Yes. Okay. So when you are questioning those things, is it something to be concerned with?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think those are great questions to ask, and they help people figure out what they want in their life, and that if they're true to their values or not. Okay. If it becomes so distressing that you're not sleeping and not taking care of yourself and your relationships are falling to the wayside, then maybe it's a concern.
Yes. And that concern will lead to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I'm so glad.
Trusted friends and family. And then if that doesn't work, then a therapist.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm glad you summed that up for us, because I never thought, when I came up with this question, I never thought you would turn that around to say anybody can go through a midlife crisis. Yeah. And once you explained it, it's true. Anybody can. So as we continue to focus on seniors, how should seniors deal with their stress and anxiety, or is it any different from another person's stress and anxiety?
Yeah, no,
be different.
Yeah, no different. I think seniors have just different stressors than not seniors, and just sort of, I think, validating that their stressors are just as important as somebody else's. And even if they're not experiencing work stress, if they're retired, that's still stressful, because finances are then stressful. And what do you do with your days? And, there's a lot there, and relationships change, and maybe some of your friends are passing away, and that's incredibly stressful. And the grief process that happens with that, and how do you cope with that? And what do you, form relationships that makes it challenging at times?
Yes. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I just did an episode about seniors and stress, and and the things you mentioned are things that I really had a conversation about, to say that these things are happening to you. And just because you are a senior, your stress is a little different from somebody else's based on what you're going through, because retirement is something that they begin to think about and say, I am retired, my money's different. That maybe someone passed away. It could be lots of things, but they're still going through those stressful moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if seniors are going through these transitions throughout their golden years, sometimes they are confused, sometimes that they are sad, what advice can you give our seniors, and seniors and their families? Because I think even though it's affecting the senior, it's also affecting the family. What advice can you give them in order to help them cope with life as an older adult?
Yeah, I think community is incredibly important, both family and friends. And I think if you can, any sort of physical exercise, being outside is really helpful. Just finding hobbies and passions that you have, and trying to create meaning from all of those things, focusing on relationships. And in terms of what families can do, I think is help with loneliness and isolation for seniors, and really make sure that they don't abandon their senior in their life, and making sure that their concerns are heard and validated. Because I think if someone's a grandparent, it becomes about the grandchild when there's still so much that the grandparent is going through and their relationships with their child are changing. And now with the grandparent, and maybe there's a lot less time they're spending with their child and grandchild, and who knows? So people move away. There's so many factors. So hopefully that's a few things that people can do.
Yes, you name many. Thank you for that. Because they do need to know this. And like I say, the population that I deal with are our seniors, and they really, really need to hear that they're not alone and learn some different techniques in how to deal with it. So thank you for that. So let's sum up our conversation with a couple more questions. I want to ask you, do you know of any myths that people have about going to therapy?
Yeah. I think a myth is that you're crazy. I think that's a complete myth. And it's a stigma that's not needed. You can just have your standard stress and need some therapy. What are some other myths? That the therapist is going to think something really negative about you or really judge you. I think most of us are extremely compassionate and empathetic and have had a lot of training. And so we've kind of heard it all. So good luck surprising us. And what are some other myths? I think those are the big ones that are crossing.
Yes, especially the first one.
Yes.
You're crazy.
Or that the therapist thinks you're crazy. That's also just not true.
So true. And what are some underrated questions that people may have, or some questions that we should know or ask as we go through therapy?
Yeah. So as a client, I think asking about, trying to figure out what your goals are, asking about what the treatment plan looks like, asking, how long do they think, therapy might last for, how often should I come? Have you worked with anxiety before? I mean, the answer to that is every single therapist has worked with anxiety. But if it's something different than that, you can ask that. Or have you worked with my specific culture before? Have you worked with, any sort of specifics like that are totally reasonable.
Yeah.
To ask.
And I never thought about, asking some of those questions that you said, because you do need to know that. And they are questions that people don't really ask because either they're too shy to ask or they're feeling like, I feel uneasy even talk to this person.
Right.
How do you break the ice with them when someone is in therapy? How do you say, okay, I'm here to help you, but how do you really break that ice?
Yeah, as a therapist or as a client?
As a therapist, either way.
Yeah.
Talk about
I think as a therapist, it's a lot of just being curious and trying to get to know somebody and really understand them. And it's not judging what they do. It's just trying to understand why they do what they do. And I think a lot of therapists, you can tell that they just really want to help. The judgment is kind of it just floats away because the person just wants you to live your best life, essentially. So I think that kind of comes through, and it can disarm people and make them feel like, okay, I'm here to better my life, and they're actually just going to help me do that.
Yes. Okay. So one final question on, therapy. Some people, I'm just going to ask this question. Is it healthy to just sleep on your problems and deal with them another day?
Depends the scenario. If you're, say, in a fight with your partner, then maybe taking a moment to cool off is helpful, or you want to yell at your boss, and maybe sleeping on it might be helpful to do that. But if you're continually sleeping on, your problems and not dealing with them, not great. They don't just go away magically. They can improve a little bit if you're talking to family and friends sometimes, but sometimes you need a professional to really help things move through and process them.
That is so true. So true. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
So we're at the end of our conversation, and I love to ask all of my guests the same summation questions, and just to have some fun. And so those questions are more personal than they are professional. So try to think of the first word that may pop into your mind to sum up our conversation today.
Okay.
Today you are
content.
Right. That's a good one, especially when we're talking about therapy.
Thank you.
Our conversation was
enlightening.
Yes, it was. And I hope that our eavesdroppers are watching and getting some great information from you today. Coffee, like we just
delicious.
It's delicious.
Lifeline. Sorry.
Another guest that I had on the show, she said coffee is necessary every day.
Yes. Yep. Yes.
I love, and you can repeat this, but I love
my family.
Yes, I do too. When I laugh
a lot.
Yeah. I smile a lot. I laugh a lot. I love laughter because it just makes you happy.
Yes.
I feel it's a form of therapy.
I agree. Yes. Humor is a great form of therapy. Yes. Yeah.
I am really
curious.
Yes. And for you being a therapist, I think you have to be.
Yeah.
Get those questions out.
Yes. Yeah.
My personality is
compassionate.
Mm-hmm. My dog, Luna.
Amazing. Right behind me. Yeah.
I did not forget about it. I think that one was a surprise one in there. I was like, okay. I love what I do because
connecting.
Because of the connection. I truly can see that. Yes. A therapist have to have that connection in order to help someone. Thank you so much, Dr. Andrea.
Thank you
for being a part of Conversations and Coffee. It has been an experience, and I hope that our conversation today, people learned a lot and they will continue to live their best lives. So eavesdroppers, what I want you to do is I want you to listen over and over again, get some of the knowledge that we've shared with you today, and live life. So Dr. Andrea, I want to give you the opportunity to share your social media and your website with our eavesdroppers so they can stay in touch with what you're doing.
Sure. So our website is www.therapynowsf.com. And then our Instagram is therapynowsf. Or just therapynowsf. Yeah.
All right. Now, let me ask this. Even though you're on the West Coast and we're on the East Coast, do you have your information that's on your website and social media? Is it valuable to wherever you are in the world?
Yeah, I mean, the social media is, in terms of who we can see, is we're only licensed in California. Okay. So we can only see clients that live in California, unfortunately.
Well, that was good to know because I didn't know that. So good.
Yeah.
All right. So, but the information is there on the website to see.
Yes. Anybody can see that. Yeah.
Okay, super. So one more thing, eavesdroppers, you know that I'm a conversationalist by heart and an educator by trade. So I want to keep this conversation going today. Let's continue the conversation down in the comment section below. I want to ask, based on what you've heard today, how do you feel about therapy? We want to know, and we want to keep this conversation going. Knowledge is power. This has been an awesome conversation today with Dr. Andrea. Our time has come to an end, and I ask that you keep eavesdropping, especially in the comments below, and I will see you the next time on Conversations and Coffee.